The United States is the richest country in the world, but in recent months, it has begun to enter an economic recession, causing many families to lose purchasing power. Inflation, unemployment, and household debt will continue to rise as the recession drags on. The first companies to be affected are stores and retailers such as Walmart or Target, since the population has less money to spend on the products they offer. These retailers, since the beginning of the month, have been canceling billions of dollars in orders from their suppliers. What doesn't make sense is that it's happening right now, before the holiday season, when the biggest number of sales is recorded. Walmart shares have not stopped falling after the news about the cancellation of millions of orders was released. It even had a drop of 11% in May of this year due to its terrible financial reports. Walmart is the company with the largest number of employees in the United States, around 2.3 million workers. There is also Amazon with 1.6 million and FedEx with 650,000. The other retail company, called Target, has 1,938 stores in the country and more than 400,000 employees. If these companies collapse and suffer the country's recession, they would have no choice but to cut costs by laying off workers, leaving thousands of families without income. In fact, according to Best Life magazine, Walmart has already begun to temporarily close many of its stores in some states like Florida. At this time 1 year ago, retailers were very concerned about whether there would be enough stock to meet all the huge demand from US consumers. However, things have turned around and, all of a sudden, the big retail chains have started canceling a large number of orders. This would only make sense if these corporations were thinking a great economic depression is imminent, since in an economic depression, people would not only lose their jobs or have lower wages, but also inflation would make it more difficult to acquire anything they want to buy. American families may soon see steep price hikes for all products as prices move by supply and demand. On the demand side, money in circulation, or inflation, will continue to rise because Federal Reserve interest rates are still not high enough to combat this phenomenon. But on the supply side, retailers are canceling orders and shedding inventory, which would mean fewer products on shelves. More money in circulation and less supply of products means that prices will skyrocket. The inflation of the US dollar is news that has become widespread in recent months when figures above 9% per year were reached. Prices within the US economy have not stopped rising. This not only includes prices in a supermarket, but also fuel prices. And if the price of fuel goes up, all prices that include the cost of transportation also go up. This graph is the Consumer Price Index, or IPC, an indicator that tells us how prices are changing in the family basket. The graph shows us that prices have been increasing in recent months, which means that people need more and more money to buy the same products. This would not be a worrying issue if wages rise in tandem with the prices of goods and services, but this is not the case that the population of the United States is going through, and it is precisely because of this that retail purchases have begun to stagnate. However, these retailers are not convinced that sales can recover in the last quarter of the year. Earlier this month, Walmart Executive Vice President John David Rainey revealed that the company had sold most of its commodity inventory. But now, they want to sell all the stock of electronics and household items. This way, they make sure they run out of things they won't be able to sell. These types of decisions are something quite strange specifically for Walmart, since last year many people on social networks published images showing empty gondolas, referring to the extreme demand that was in the inhabitants. Excessive inventory can have three major consequences. The first is inventory obsolescence, because there are products with a certain shelf life, for example, food with an expiration date or clothing that can go out of style. The second problem of the inventory is that it generates cash problems, since the company must sell enough of those products in stock to receive enough money and buy again from its supplier. The third problem would be profitability, because having a lot of inventory implies increasing expenses in employees or in energy costs to keep some products cold. Due to these problems that retail companies would go through, they have decided to reduce their inventories and sell as much stock as possible. Walmart has not been the only one to do this. Target also announced that it was reducing orders to its suppliers for the next few months. According to various media, more than $1.5 billion in orders were canceled, and numerous promotions were also carried out to sell inventory faster. Sportswear company Under Armour also joined the party, and executives decided to cancel orders due to alleged supply problems. Under Armour, however, was more affected than Walmart, since unlike Walmart, they do not sell basic necessities. In an economic downturn, Families first cut back on items that are not of great importance. Colin Brown, Under Armour CEO, said that the company had to do some order cancellations due to supply chain constraints to ensure inventory is right at the right time. Other retailers, such as Kohl's and VF Corporation, have also been cutting orders because they want to sell their inventory faster and expect fewer sales. Raj Subramaniam, the CEO of FedEx, admitted in an interview with CNBC that he expects a major recession in the country. This pessimism came after FedEx missed earnings and revenue estimates for the first quarter of the year. On September 16th, FedEx shares fell more than 21% after showing financial results. "I'm very disappointed with the results we have just announced, although it is really due to the macro situation we are facing," Subramaniam said, trying to justify the poor financial results with the situation in the country, although he also mentioned that there is a loss volume worldwide. FedEx, being a shipping company, is one of the first companies to be affected by the arrival of an economic downturn, as companies and individuals buy fewer products, and therefore, the volume of shipments is affected. Unlike past recessions, US GDP is falling as inflation rises. This phenomenon is called stagflation, and it is the worst of both worlds because not only do people lose their jobs or have lower wages, but prices in the economy also rise. Lately, it was reported that Russia was cutting off gas to Europe, so electricity prices in most European countries rose drastically. However, due to the inflation of the US dollar, this problem is also present in the United States. According to one study, the average American family will pay $1,202 just to heat their home this winter versus $888 in 2020. This is a 17% increase in just 1 year. For the 60% of families that heat using natural gas, heating costs could rise by more than 34%. In August, a report showed that more than 20 million households fell behind on utility bills, with the average amount owed rising to $792. This is almost double compared to 2020. According to the Wall Street Journal, US consumers will pay even more this winter as energy shortages continue to push prices sky high. All this because the international prices of natural gas continue to rise. In 2022 alone, the price has more than doubled due to the war in Ukraine. Also, keep in mind that it's not even winter in the Northern Hemisphere, so it will get worse as the cold gets closer. Brandon Smith, a recognized economist, explains how an economic crisis is generated and compares it to an avalanche. In an avalanche, the snow accumulates on the mountain for a long time, but at some point, that block of accumulated snow breaks and it begins to fall down the mountain with more and more force. The same thing happens with the economy. Things begin to happen that accumulate, such as price inflation, the drop in consumption in retail chains, the stagnation of salaries, until at one point the economy breaks down and the crisis cannot be stopped. Today, the United States is in the early stages of an economic crisis, but according to Smith, many people cannot see it because they have become accustomed to recessions being resolved quickly in the past. An economic crisis can take several years to develop, even if the economy continues to grow. But at any moment, the bubble bursts like in the crisis year of 2008. Brandon Smith also added that everyone should have seen this crisis well in advance, but they couldn't listen. In short, the United States is not only about to enter a huge recession due to excessive government indebtedness, but also suffer from constant price increases, the lack of products on the shelves, difficulties paying for energy, falls in the stock market, and record household debt. Debt in households not only affects the economy of the people, but also affects the retailer. When people have a lot of debt, a large percentage of their income and savings are used to pay off those debts, so they spend less money on other products. To get through the tough times ahead in America, people should buy essentials like tomato cans or toilet paper early, pay off debt, and cut back on certain services. Walmart, Target, and all the big retailers are getting ready for what's to come. If they are canceling orders, in many people's homes, there will be no products.